Good afternoon, good evening, have a nice day wherever you are in this bright, wide world of ours. I'm very happy to see you here. I am Despina from Greece. I live in a tiny little island right in the middle of the Cyclades, next to world famous Mykonos. You might have heard of that. I teach foreign languages in my little island, and I am also a storyteller. I am also, as Shilpa is very preoccupied, especially with violence against women. Domestic violence was a second kind of epidemic in my country after the pandemic. And we had incidents almost on a monthly basis. Back then, things seem to have quieted down now, but we do know that the violence is out there. As Eric said, we never know who it comes from or who it addresses, but this thing, the femicide, was plaguing Greek society for quite some time. And as a person and as a storyteller, I felt I had to deal with the subject somehow. So when I heard a brilliant storyteller, Christine Genders, give her version of the Broomfield Hill, I asked her if I would have her permission to make my own version out of hers. So she told me that she used child's ballads, 19th century ballads from England and Scotland mainly, that have been turned by many storytellers into folk tales. And this is what she did. And I used her version, and I thank her kindly for permitting me to make my own. I hope you enjoy it. A long time ago, there lived a girl with her father, and they had an inn that was their family business. On that particular night, which was cold and windy, and it was late, they were not expecting any more customers, and the few that were still inside the inn were getting ready to go home. So nobody expected the door to burst open and this gang of men come inwards, helping each other to a table, drunkenly singing vulgar songs. And normally her father, the innkeeper, would send them away at that time, but having a look at their garments that were all velvet and gold and embroidered, and the large purses that hung from their belts, he thought twice. Maybe it wouldn't be wise to send off customers like that. So not only did he let them in, he also sent his best ale with his daughter, the waitress. The girl, she was young and she was pink and she was fresh. And when the men saw her going towards their table, pints in her hands, they were all the merrier. As soon as the girl let go of the pints and freed her hands, she used the very same hands to push one of the men backwards because he was making advances towards her. Pushed violently back on his chair, the other man, the rest of the company, roared with laughter. All except one, because at the other side of the table, across the girl, one of them did not laugh. One of them looked at her sternly and abruptly stood up and addressed the girl. "Who do you think you are, lass? Is that the proper way to address your superiors?" The girl, she was intimidated, but she was also outspoken, so she said, I beg your pardon, sir, but this is no way to treat an honest maid either." An honest maid, are you? I tell you what, in 3 days from now, I will be hunting up on Broomfield Hill. Around noon, I'll be done. Why don't you come and find me? And let us see with our own eyes if you are the honest maid you claim to be. And addressing the man in his company, or whether she shall return as such. The man burst out laughing again, and the girl, she turned red Now, at that point, her father decided to finally intervene. So he stepped forward and put himself between the girl and the man. And I beg your forgiveness, kind gentleman, he said. It is the fatigue of the day speaking. Let us forget about this whole incident. The ale is on the house. What do you say? Your daughter, eh? Said the man. The ale is on the house. Let me tell you what. This is my signet ring, the ring of my family. And say that. He took it out and tossed it to the girl's feet. If your daughter doesn't bring me my signet ring in 3 days from now at Broomfield Hill, me and my lads, we will be here every night for 1 year, drinking for free. Now the girl, behind her father, she thought very quickly, if these people come here every night and start drinking for free, not only will they put our business in danger, the other customers will be too scared to come in their presence. We will soon go bankrupt. And if that happens, my family will starve. So now she stepped forward and she said, I'll take your wager, sir. Good, he said. And with that, he dragged his friends from their coats and they disappeared into the night. The father sat down and held his head. What do we do now, father? Said the girl. Innkeeper, as many a father before him and many, many after him said, I have no clue, take this to your mother. So she did. She went back home and she told her mother everything. And her mother was, oh dear, how did we come to this? What do we do now? I don't know what to tell you, lass. I'm at my wit's end. I tell you what, why don't you go knock around the houses of our neighbors, have them all brought here in our house, and maybe if we all put our heads together, maybe someone will come up with a solution. So the girl did. She went around knocking from door to door. And they were nice people. They were loved by the community. Soon their house was full of women of all ages. And after a recounting of the events and a lot of, oh dear, and what do we do now? Silence fell in the room until one of them said, and what about the wise woman? Oh no, not her, said another one. She's a witch. Everybody knows it. She lives out there all alone in the forest. Besides, we don't know how to get to her house. Well, I know how to get us to her house. Anyway, have you got an idea? But she didn't, and none of the others did. So it was decided early in the morning, a convoy of women, villagers of all ages, girl and mother in the middle, they started walking towards the forest. The woman who knew the way in the front, guiding the way. And they reached the center of the forest, and in there was one lonely hut. And the old woman, she came out to meet them as if she already knew they were going. And after some whining about how nobody ever visited unless they wanted something of her, and after some bargaining about how many eggs and ham and cheese it could cost them, she agreed to let them in. They all sat around the fire. And the old woman, she said, now let us see that signet ring, dear. The girl gave it to her. She grabbed it and had a good look at it. You did well to come to me with this, lass. This man's reputation precedes him. Many girls have been seen with this guy for the last time. The girl, if she was pale before, she was white as snow now. What do we do? What do we do? Said the others. Relax, relax. Don't cry. Wait, I can help. But this is too big for me, for her alone. If you want this girl to stand the chance, the wise woman said, you all have to help. And so it was arranged. And the next morning, the morning of the appointed meeting, early at dawn, the girl found herself taking the path upwards that led to the top of Broomfield Hill, humming a melody, a tune she had been taught, and gathering herbs in her lap on the way. Up on the hill, the man was done with his hunting and tired. He had sat under the shadow of a tree to rest. He looked up at the horizon and saw that the sun was almost at its peak. It won't be long now, he said, his hawk, his hound, and his horse at his side. Oh, why don't I lie for a little while under the shadow of this tree to gather my strength for what is to come, he thought. And he did. And as soon as the man was lying, his eyelids fell heavy and he fell soon asleep. And this is how the girl, exactly at noon, found him lying under the tree. The hawk, the hound, and the horse looking at her. She took a handful of the herbs she had gathered, and singing, she started going up and down from head to toe, singing this tune. Thrice I'll drop around thee, sage and thyme and broom, so you sleep on tightly, so you slumber well. Back at the house, the women holding hands, with a wise woman in the middle, in unison, sang together the last verse, which you now, if you want that last to stand a chance, you need to sing with me. So you do not wake up, so you sleep like dead. So you do not wake up, so you sleep like dead. So you do not wake up, so you sleep like dead. The girl turned and she saw the hawk from the branch of the tree and the hound with his chain around the trunk and the horse looking at her. And she kept spreading the herbs from head to toe, singing, may thy hawk, may thy horse, thy hound witness bear. With this ring I'm giving you, I seal the vow we share. Back at the house, the women holding hands sang, please sing with me. So she shall walk freely, so she shall be free. So she shall walk freely, so she shall be free. So she shall walk freely, so she shall be free. And with the end of this song, she took out from her pocket the signet ring he had tossed at her feet, and holding her breath with the gentlest move ever, she lifted his finger and placed it in its rightful place. 3 pairs of eyes fixed upon her, she started walking backwards as slowly as she could. And once she was out of sight, she started running down that hill the fastest she had ever done in her life. She did not know how much time had passed or how she had run over all those rocks and herbs and plants. And before she knew it, she was back in her house, catching her breath, telling her mama everything. Back on Broomfield Hill, the man woke. She looked at the sun, way past noon. She looked to the right, he looked to the left. Where is she? She hasn't come, he said, making plans of vengeance in his mind. There was not much he could do now. He went towards his horse, but once he got hold of the reins, he saw the ring on his finger. So she has come, he said. You, my hawk, you saw me sleeping here when the last came. Why did you not wake me? I flapped my wings, my lord, and I crowed, but you wouldn't wake. And you, my favorite hound, you I paid so dearly for. If I tell you to catch a prey and bring it to me, you will do so. Why did you not wake me when the last came? I barked and I pulled my chain, my lord, and I made a lot of fuss and a lot of noise, but you would not wake. And you, my horse, my lovely stud, you are ever so faithful to me. Why did you not wake me when the last came here? I neighed, my lord, and I stomped my feet, but you would not wake. Said the man. Up on his horse was he, with his hound and his hawk with him, making a turn to return to his house when he saw that ring on his finger again. Now that ring. He tried to pull it off, but he couldn't. He pulled it off with all his strength, but the ring wouldn't go. He beat it with his teeth and tried to pull it away, but the ring was as if it was attached to its skin. It never moved. People who knew that man, they say that up to the end of his days, that ring never left his finger. I'd like to tell you that he was a changed man afterwards. I'd like to tell you that he changed his ways. Alas, I cannot. I do know that that girl lived and that that ring remained firmly on up until the end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Beautifully told.
Thank you.
Anybody? Thoughts, resonations? Vicky?
I loved the story and I loved the telling. I thought it was particularly interesting. I noticed in the end that it was his wedding ring finger, if I'm not mistaken, on his left hand. So he was really married to being alone, to himself. So that was interesting. Anyway, I thank you. It was beautifully told.
Thank you. Well, we did say earlier that the message is run, of course, but I think that speak comes first, right? Ladies who suffer in a situation like that, they first need to seek allies, and you cannot do that unless you speak. You need all the help you can get if you are to run successfully.
So how did you modify that story? What were the changes that you made?
Oh, a lot. Okay, at first the ballad is the wager between two aristocrats, a couple who are engaged, and the wager is between the man and the woman who wants to take her virginity away, and she tries to find a way to escape that fate before they get married. So it's been turned upside down entirely. It's been changed into a battle of power between different social backgrounds and authority, power people can misuse to their advantage against others.
Mm-hmm. Moira.
Yeah, Despina, I love that story, especially the mixture between this. I had a whole movie, this fairy tale atmosphere, but the way you told it, it was so real, so present. And on the other hand, you know, the story of Days and Old connected with a very modern or even timeless message that there are situations where there's such a an injustice and such a despair that you can't face it alone, whatever wonderful fairy tale heroine you may be. And that was such a strong picture of the women looking for a solution all together. So wonderful story. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, it was very satisfactory to have all the women joining the effort.
Mm.
Yeah. You need to have a group of allies if you are facing a situation like that, I guess.
Definitely. And that message came over in a very powerful way. Thank you.
I have told this story last February. I went to the second international festival in Marrakesh, and I had the opportunity to tell it there for the first time with a live audience. So it was really something to have everybody around me joining the singing, like they really wanted the girl to get away. I hope you did too.
Okay. Oh, Gustavo.
Sorry, particularly I like that question because sometimes it's important, like to have a group. Not only this woman was alone, but she had this women who helped her, and sometimes it's important to have not only your like women, but there are other stations that have other people that are also have the same problems of submission and power, and you have to search for certain kinds of allies with men also. For example, LGTB people that sum themselves to the problem of submitting to power of men. In that sense, been clear?
That is written here that another possible solution would be for all the women to accompany her as she brought the ring back to the man. That's interesting, but I think that it's very important that even though you get help, it's actually the character, the person that undergoes the situation that has to find the solution. Taking the help needed, yes, but in the end of the day, it's you that have to face it. So, but thanks for the idea, Dada.
Okay, thank you so much.
Pleasure.